Okay, children, in this video, we are going to study about classification of gymnosperms, and next we'll be studying in detail about cycles. Now, classification of gymnosperms. Spawned in the year 1965, he has classified gymnosperms into three classes, and they consist of 9 orders and 31 families. The class it includes first class is Cycadopsida, second class Coniferopsida, third class Neotopsida. Okay, so three classes are there. So here you can see always we have studied the classification is done from lower forms to the higher forms of plants, the primitive to advanced forms. So here Cycadopsida, they are the primitive forms of the gymnosperms. Now here four orders are there in class Cycadopsida. There are four orders. They are Pteridospermales, Benatitales, Pentoxylales, then Cycadales. Okay, among this, only the representative gymnosperm present now is by the Cycadales. Next, Coniferopsida, it includes four orders. They are Chordatates, Coniferales, Taxales, Ginkgogales. Third class Neotopsida, it includes only one order, that is Neotales. Now, general characteristics of all the three main classes. Cycadopsida. The plants are palm-like or fern-like. So here the cycas plants in appearance it looks like a palm tree. Okay. Compound frond-like pinnate leaves are present. Now here first thing we have to understand there are two types of leaves, simple leaves and a compound leaf. All of you have seen a mango leaf, okay, banana leaf. So here you can see on one stalk only one leaf lamina is present, that is leaf blade is present there. Such type of leaf they are called as simple leaf, only one stalk, one leaf lamina or leaf blade, then we call it as simple leaf. Now next you have seen a curry leaves you have seen, or neem tree leaves you have seen. So here you can see on one stalk numerous small leaflets are present there, small leaves they are called the leaflets are present there. So then it is called as a compound leaf. So there are two type of leaves, simple leaves and compound leaves. Simple leaf on a stalk only one single leaf lamina is present, we call it as a simple leaf. On a stalk, that is the rachis, there are numerous small leaflets are arranged, then it is called as compound leaves. So in case of cycas we have the compound leaves. Frond means the leaves, we have pinnate leaves. Pinnate means small pinna, that is the small leaflets, they are called as the pinna. So here pinnate leaves are present there, compound frond like pinnate leaves are present there. Then it is the monozylic wood. Already we studied the general characteristics of the gymnosperms. In that we studied what are monozylic and what are pycnozylic woods. So monozylic we already studied, they have what, large medullary rays, dense parenchyma cells are present, so the woods they are soft and porous. Next, sperms are motile, that is the male gametes they are motile, they have the flagellas. Next, flower-like structures are absent. Strobili are simple. Strobili, as we have studied, the sporophyll leaves they are arranged in the form of a cone. They are called as the strobili. Next, so here in as we studied gymnosperm, flowers are absent but cones are present there. Strobili or the cones are present there. Example for this class of plants is Cycas and Zamia. Next class is Coniferopsida. So here they are tall trees with simple leaves of varied shape. Okay. So here Coniferopsida, they includes the coniferous trees. They are tall trees. Their wood is pycnozylic. Pycnozylic we have studied what they have the narrow medullary rays, less protoplasm, and the wood is hard we have studied. Cone like strobili are present there. So cone like structures are present here. Next, motile sperms are absent except Ginkgo biloba. Example for this coniferales are Coniferopsida, they are the pinus tree. So here you can find the sperms, the male gametes, they are motile. Third class is the Neotopsida. Shrubs, trees and lianas are present. In Neotopsida you can find three types of habits. Shrubs are there, trees are there, and lianas. Lianas again I explained you They are what? They are the woody climbers. Okay, this the stems of this plants, they are woody, but they climb around on the other trees. Next, leaves are elliptical or strap shaped, simple, opposite or walled. Okay, so simple leaves we have studied here. The leaves, they are simple leaf. Already explained what are simple leaves. On a stalk, only one leaf lamina is present. It is a simple leaf. Next, the arrangement of the leaves opposite, that is in one node, two leaves are present opposite to each other. Okay, in both the direction, the leaves will be present. Then we will call it as opposite. Walled means what? More than three leaves are present in one node. Then it is called as a walled leaves. Next, motile swarms are present. Again, the male gametes, male motile swarms are absent. So here, male gametes, they do not have the flagella. They do not swim. Next, would contain the vessels. So in Neotopsid already we have studied Nettles. They are the group of the higher gymnosperms where the vessels are present. Vessels, they are the conducting elements in the xylem. Next, strobili is called as inflorescence. So here the strobiles, they are the inflorescence, and already we studied that this represents the male flower. Next, flower-like structures with perianth is present. So here, flower-like structures with perianth is present. Example, Netum ephedra. So here, as we have studied, a flower has four walls: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. When the calyx and corolla, they are not differentiated, okay, separate sepals and separate petals we are not able to identify, and these essential parts, they are surrounded by only one protective wall is present, then that is called as a perianth. Okay, that is calyx and corolla we are not able to differentiate. Next, it is what? The essential walls, that is the androecium and gynoecium, they are surrounded by only one protective wall, then that wall is called as a perianth. Okay, so these are the characteristics of the three classes of gymnosperms. So here, next we are going to study about the cycas plant in detail. So here cycas, it belongs, so here cycas, we have studied the class, it is Cycadopsida, order Cycadales, family Cycadaceae, genus Cycas. It is widely distributed in tropical and subtropical regions of eastern hemisphere of the world. So here in the warm climates they are formed. Cycas revoluta, Cycas vidome, Cycas circinalis, Cycas rumphi are some of the common species. The plant body is sporophyte and resembles a small palm. So here, as we have already studied, the cycas plant, they resemble like a palm tree, but they are not so tall, but they are small. The growth is very slow. It is evergreen and xerophytic in nature. That is, they have some adaptation or like of the xerophytic plants. So for example, the stomata. In the xerophytic plant, sunken stomata is present there to check the rate of transpiration. Similarly, here also you can find sunken stomatas are present there. Next, the plant body. So already we have studied the plant body is sporophytic. The sporophyte is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. The stem is columnar. Columnar means it is pillar-like, unbranched. Okay, and bearing a crown of spirally arranged pinnately compound leaves. So here you can see in this diagram, figure 2.39 also you can see only one pillar-like stem is present and the leaves are arranged on the top like a crown. Okay, only on the top you can find the leaves are present there. The older leaves, as the stem grows, they will fall down. So here the stem is columnar, that is pillar like, and they have crown of leaves which is spirally arranged on the top, and each leaf, they are the pinnately compound leaves. So here pinna, I told you, they are the small leaflets are called the pinna. So on a rachis, numerous leaflets are present, so they are called as pinnately compound leaves. Next, about the root. Two types of roots are found in cycas. They are the taproot and the corolloid root. So as we already studied, here in the gymnosperms, seed formation is taking place. So the seeds, they germinate and they give rise to the radicle, that is the primary root. This primary root later develops into the taproot. So taproot is present there, which grows vertically downwards in the towards the gravity of the earth. Next is what? The corolloid roots. Corolloid roots, they are found on the region above the soil, the stem near to the soil. The primary root they persist. This primary root they develop from the radicle, that is on the germination of the seed. The primary root persists and they form the taproot. Some of the lateral roots give rise to branches which grow vertically upward below the ground level. So here some roots they grow vertically upwards below the ground level. They branch repeatedly to form dichotomously branched coral-like roots. They are called as the coralloid roots. So here already we have studied near to the soil surface some roots are present, and in these roots there are blue-green algae like Anabaena. They are found there, which is helping in the nitrogen fixation. Since in these roots this blue-green algae they are leaving a symbiotic association, these roots they are called as the coralloid roots. The cortical region of the coralloid roots they contain the blue-green algae and the nitrogen fixation. Next about the stem. Stem is columnar, unbranched and woody. So here the stem is woody. Okay, columnar like pillar like. Okay, and unbranched, no branching is seen in the cycas plant stem. It is covered with persistent woody leaf bases. So here on the surface of the stem we can find the woody leaf bases are present there. The stem also bears adventitious buds at the base. So in the leaf base there are some adventitious buds are present there. So these adventitious buds, when they are detached from the stem and kept in the soil, they will lead to the development of the plant. Next, leaves. Leaves, there are two type of leaves are there, foliage leaves and scaly leaves. Now foliage leaves they are also called as assimilatory leaves. Foliage leaves they are large, pinnately compound and form a crown at the top of the stem. So here as we studied there are two type of leaves are there, foliage leaves and scaly leaves. Foliage leaves they are large leaves, pinnately compound, and they are present in the top of the plant and they form the crown at the top of the stem. Each leaf has 80 to 100 pairs of sessile leaflets. So as we have studied, it is a compound leaf, that is on a rachis. Numerous leaflets are present there or pinnas are present there. So the number of pinnas it varies from 80 to 100 pairs. Okay, on the each side of the rachis, that is a pair of leaflets are present there. Leaf pairs of pinnas are present there. So the number of pinnas on each leaf it is about 80 to 100. The apex is acute or spiny, that is the tip of the leaf. Okay, the tip of the compound leaf you can find they are pointed. Okay, and that is called as acute or it is called as spiny. The leaflet has a single mid vein. Lateral veins are absent. So here in each compound leaves there is only one mid vein is present there, and other veins are absent. The lateral, the branching of the veins they are absent here. Circinate vernation is present and young leaves are covered with ramenta. The circinate vernation is that you can imagine a leaf, you take it and just you roll it. Okay, so here this in the case of the cycas leaf, the leaves when they are young they are fully curled. Okay, the full leaves they are twisted. Okay, they are curled. Okay, they are just like a spiral curling is there. Here if you take a strip of paper and if you ask to roll it, what type of arrangement you are getting? The same way in the young stage the leaves they are fully curled. So when they are becoming older, what will happen, slowly this curls will open and they will become a straight leaf. Next is the ramenta. What is this ramenta? They are the brown color hairs. So on the young leaves this brown color hairs are present there. So circinate vernation is what? The young leaves they are fully curled. Okay, they are wounded around each other, and when they open these turns will open. So later I will just represent the diagram for the circinate vernation. Next the scale leaves. Next type of leaves found here is the scale leaves. Scale leaves they are brown. As we have studied foliage leaves they are green. As a result these foliage leaves are only meant for photosynthesis. The function of this foliage leaves is photosynthesis. Now scale leaves they are brown, small, triangular and persistent, which are protective in function. they are covered with ramenta. Now these scale leaves, they are found on the surface of the stem also. They are present on the along with the foliage leaves also. On the stem also they are present. So it is said that so here what will happen, the foliage leaves, when the plant become older, the leaves when they become old, they will fall down and they leave the leaf trace will leave, they will leave. Whereas in the scale leaves, they are persistent, they remain on the stem, and the function of the scale leaf is protection. They are also covered with the brown color hairs, that is called the ramenta. Next you are going to study about the internal structure of root, stem and leaves. So internal structure of root, the TS of root, the internal organization of the primary root reveals the following parts, that is epiblema, cortex, vascular region. So here as we have studied the leaves, each plant part is well differentiated. So here also we can study, there are all the three tissue systems are present. Epiblema, epiblema is what? It is the outermost layer of the root made up of single layer of parenchymatous cells, that is called as the epiblema. Next, below the epiblema is present few layers of cortex. So epiblema is the outermost layer and it is made up of single layer of parenchyma. It is followed by thin wall of parenchyma cortex. So below the epiblema you can find there is a continuous mass of cortex is present there. The cortex is delimited by a single layered endodermis. That is the innermost layer of the cortex. It is called the endodermis. So here multi-layer cortex is present there. The innermost layer of the cortex is called the endodermis, that you can see in the figure 2.41, represented by the blue layer, a single layer of barrel-shaped parenchymatous cells, that is called the endodermis. So endodermis is said to be the innermost layer of the cortex. The cortex is delimited by single layer endodermis. The multi-layered parenchymatous pericycle is present. Okay. Now below the endodermis, there are again few layers of parenchymatous cells, that is called as the pericycle. So here below the endodermis, pericycle is present there. The xylem is diarch in young roots. Okay. So here that only two xylem elements are present there. Okay, the number as we have studied in the case of the roots, the xylem and the phloem, they are arranged radially, that is they are present in different radius. Okay, separately as studied last year, we have already studied this here. So here also you can see, if the number of xylem elements only 2 is present in the young stem, when this young roots, when these roots they mature, in the older roots there are 4 xylem elements. Okay, the number of xylem elements become 4, then it is called as tetrarch. When it is only 2 xylem elements are present, we call it as diarch. So as we already know, in the roots the xylem and the phloem, they are present alternatively. So 2 xylem elements, 2 phloem elements will be present there. Okay, next secondary growth is present. Coralloid root. Now this what we have studied about the structure of the root. This is about the normal root. Now if it is a coralloid root, so as we have studied in the coralloid root, the blue-green algae they are found. So where they are found? They are found in the cortex region. So coralloid root also shows similar structure, but the middle cortex is characterized by the presence of an algal zone. So here you can see, now here the TS what is given, it is of the coralloid root, you can see. So here outermost again the epiblema or the epidermis is there, then cortex region is there. In the middle of the cortex is found the blue-green algae, or the algae is present, that is called as the algal zone. So this presence of this algal zone divides the cortex into outer cortex, middle cortex and the inner cortex. So blue-green algae, they are called the Anabaena, is found in the zone. The xylem is triarch and exarch. Now here in this coralloid roots, the number of xylem elements, they are 3. So here you can see the blue inside the within the endodermis you can find the stellar region. There you can find the blue color represents the phloem. Okay, then elongated red color structures, that is the xylem, and towards the center you can find large cells are present, broad cells are present, that is the metaxylem, and towards the endodermis you can find the pointed tails of the xylem elements are present, they are the protoxylem. So here now here you can see such type of xylem elements, how many are there? Three xylem elements are there alternating with 3 phloem. So this condition is called as the triarch. Okay, the xylem, that is in the coralloid roots we found the triarch condition. Next is the exarch. What do you understand by exarch? When the metaxylem is towards the center, as I told you, the broad region of the xylem, that is the metaxylem, they are the large vessels, and the protoxylem is towards the periphery, then it is this arrangement is called as the exarch condition. Okay, so here we have studied in the coralloid roots, uh, the xylem, the number of xylem elements is 3, so it is said to be triarch, and the arrangement of the xylem elements is what? Metaxylem towards the center and protoxylem towards the periphery, so it is said to be exarch. So I guess we will recall the TS of the root we have studied. It is having the outermost layer made up of single layer of parenchyma cells, that is called the epidermis or the epiblema. Below there are many layers of cortex are present there. So in the normal roots there are many layer of cortex, many layer of parenchyma cells is present, that forms the cortex. But if it is a coralloid roots, in the middle, in the cortex cells, in the middle of the cortex cells you can find that is the blue green algae are found. So this algal zone, it divides the cortex into 3: outer cortex, middle cortex and the inner cortex. And the innermost layer of the cortex is called the endodermis. This endodermis is again made up of a single layer of parenchyma cells. Now below the endodermis there are many layers of pericycle is present. So that we have already studied when we are studying about the types of stele. So pericycle, from the pericycle starts the stellar region. So here we can find many layers of pericycle is present there. Below that you can find the vascular tissues, the xylem and the phloem, they are arranged radially. Xylem elements in the case of normal roots, they may be diarch or tetrarch. That is in the normal roots. In the young roots they will be having diarch, and in the older roots they will be having tetrarch. But in the coralloid roots we can find the number of xylem elements, they are triarch, that is 3 xylem elements are present. Next we have found here, that is in the center we have the pith is present there. Okay, next what we have studied, the xylem elements, they are exarch condition. Exarch means what? Metaxylem towards the center and the protoxylem towards the periphery. So this is about the TS of the root and the coralloid root we have studied. Next about the stem. The cross section of the young stem is irregular in outline due to the presence of persistent leaf bases. As we have studied, the leaf trace is left after, even after the shedding down of the foliage leaves, that leaf base remain as it is. So because of the presence of this leaf base, the outer layer of the that is the outer layer does not form a circular structure, but it is an irregular outline is seen. It is differentiated into epidermis, cortex and vascular cylinder. It resembles the structure of the dicot stem. So as we can see, the TS of the dicot stem, the same structure is found in the TS of the cycas stem. The epidermis is the outermost layer and is covered with thick cuticle. It is discontinuous due to the presence of leaf bases. The cortex constitutes a major part and is made up of thin-walled parenchyma cells. The cells are filled with starch grains. Cortex also possesses several mucilage ducts and tannins. So as we have studied, here also the outermost layer is the epidermis. It is not a continuous layer because leaf bases are present there. Next we have studied since the cycas plants, they show the xerophytic condition. So thick cuticle is present outside the epidermis is present there. Next we have studied below the cortex, below the epidermis there is a continuous mass of cortex are there made up of parenchyma cells, and they contains the starch grain. Cortex also presents several mucilage ducts and tannin cells. So here in the cortex region of the stem you can find mucilage ducts. Okay, mucilage cells are present there. Tannin secreting cells are also present there. In young stem, the vascular bundles are arranged in the form of a ring. Okay, so here you can see in this diagram 2.42 the radial lines that represents the vascular bundles. The vascular bundles are conjoined. Okay, so here you can see, first thing, the vascular bundles, they are arranged in the form of a ring around the pith. You can see in the center is the pith, surrounding there a circular small lines are there that represents the vascular bundles. The speciality of so this type of arrangement is called as what, the U-steel arrangement. When the vascular bundles they are arranged in the form of a ring around the pith, then it is called as the U-steel. So here you can find the vascular bundles are arranged in the form of a ring. A broad medullary race is present, that is between the two vascular bundles. The pith is extending. The pith is made up of parenchymatous cells. The pith cells they extend between the vascular bundles. Then it is called as the medullary race. This pith is also called as medulla. So here between the vascular bundles, when this parenchymatous cells are present, then it is called as the medullary race. Okay, the vascular bundles are conjoined, collateral, endarch and open. Now each term we can understand. Conjoined means the xylem and the phloem they are present together as a bundle. Next, collateral. That is that is the xylem and phloem they are present in the same radius. Then we call it as conjoined. Collateral means phloem will be facing towards the outer side, towards the epidermis. The phloem will be present. Towards the center, the xylem will be present. This is called as collateral. Next is the endarch condition. Endarch here it is what? Metaxylem will be facing towards the outer side and the protoxylem towards the center. Okay, then it is called as what? Endarch condition. And the third is open. Fourth term here in regarding the vascular bundle is open. Open means between the phloem and the xylem, the cambium is present. Then it is called as the open vascular bundle. So here we have studied vascular bundles. They are conjoined, collateral, endarch and open. Already we have studied all these terms earlier in the previous classes. Now xylem is made up of tracheids and phloem consists of sieve tubes and phloem parenchyma. So here as we have studied in the cycus they have the conducting element in the xylem is the tracheids, whereas in the phloem companion cells are absent. Sieve tubes are there and phloem parenchyma is present there. Companion cells they are absent. Cambium is present in the vascular bundle, is active for short period. The secondary cambium is formed from the pericycle or cortex and helps in the secondary growth of the stem. Now here what will happen? The secondary cambium is formed in the cortical cells or in the pericycle, that will help in the lateral thickening. Okay. The cortical region shows a large number of leaf traces. The presence of direct leaf traces and the girdling leaf traces is a unique feature of the cycus stem. So here leaf traces they are originating from the cambium, then it is called as the girdle leaf trace. So here so two type of leaf traces are there, direct leaf traces that you can find on the outer surface and girdling that is found arising from the cambium. It is the unique feature of the cycus stem. Secondary growth results in the polyxylic condition. So already we have studied polyxylic condition, and phelogen and cork are formed and replace the epidermis. So here when the secondary growth is taking place, what will happen? The outer epidermis layers they will rupture. To fill that gaps, the secondary cambium will form the secondary protective layer. They are called as the periderm. So here the phelogen and the cork are formed to replace this epidermis. So secondary cambium which is present in the cortex region, they will lead to the development of the phelogen and the cork cells which will replace the ruptured epidermis. The wood formed belongs to the monoxylic type. So monoxylic already we have studied, they are the soft wood, okay, with wide medullary race and dense parenchyma. So here this is what we have studied about the TS of stem. Next we are going to study about the TS of rachis. So as we have studied in cycus, the leaves they are a compound leaves. These leaflets they are or the pinnas they are arranged on the rachis, a common stalk. That is called as the rachis. Okay. So the outermost layer is epidermis and is covered by thick cuticle. Okay. So here in the rachis also, if you take a TS of this rachis and observe, so as just you can imagine, but it is not the correct example, just you can imagine if you take the curry leaves, already all of you have seen the curry leaves. Okay, when you remove all the leaflets of this curry leaves, the stalk which is left in the center, that is the rachis. Okay, you are taking a section of that rachis and observe under the microscope. Okay, that rachis, if we take a section and observe under the microscope, that will call it as section of the rachis. Now here we are taking the section of the Cycus rachis and observe under the microscope, then you can find in the rachis the outermost layer is the epidermis and is covered by thick cuticle. Below the rachis is present the hypodermis. This hypodermis is made up of two layers of sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is what? They are the dead cells. Okay, as we again to check the rate of transpiration. So here the below the epidermis is present the hypodermis, that is made up of two layers of sclerenchymatous cells. On the adaxial side, adaxial means upper surface, and many layered on the abaxial side. That on the lower surface there are many layers of sclerenchymatous cells are present. The ground tissue is parenchymatous. So here you can see the diagram here, the TS of the rachis you can find here. So here epidermis you can find the outer layer is the epidermis. Below there you can find the hypodermis. In the upper side it is made up of two layers of sclerenchymatous cells, whereas in the lower side it is made up of many layers of sclerenchymatous cells. In the center the blue region, that is the ground tissue. Okay, that is the ground tissue. This ground tissue is made up of parenchymatous cells. Okay, the ground tissue is parenchymatous. The peculiar feature of the rachis is the arrangement of the vascular bundle, that is an inverted omega shaped pattern. So here you can find the vascular bundles. Okay, now here you can find the small vascular bundles. You can see the part label. These vascular bundles, they are arranged in the form of an inverted omega. You can see the arrangement of these vascular bundles. They are arranged in the form of an inverted omega letter. Next, each vascular bundle is covered by a single layer of sclerenchymatous bundle sheet, and vascular bundles are collateral, endark and open. So here each vascular bundle, so here we have studied, that is all the vascular bundles, they are arranged in the form of a letter omega, and each vascular bundle you can see, okay, they have an outer single layer of sclerenchymatous cells. Next, this vascular bundles, they are collateral. Collateral, as I already told you, phloem towards the outer side, xylem towards the inner side. Okay, endark and open. Endark, again what do you mean? Metaxylem towards the outer side and protoxylem towards the inner side. Next, open. Open again means what? Cambium is present in the vascular bundle. A single layered endodermis and few layered pericycle surrounds the bundle. The diploxylic condition is present in the vascular bundles, that is presence of both centripetal and centrifugal xylem. So diploxylic, diplo means two types of xylem. Okay, diploxylic means two types of xylem here. So a diploxylic condition is seen here. So here what is the diploxylic condition? That is, there are two types of xylem. One is centripetal and the other one is centrifugal. So the centripetal, we can say it is the exarch condition. Exarch condition where we studied in the roots we studied. Okay, so that what is that exarch condition? That is, the protoxylem is towards the outer side and metaxylem is towards the center. So this arrangement is called the exarch, or it is called the centripetal type of xylem. Centrifugal refers to what? Endark condition. Endark condition means towards the inner side protoxylem is present and towards the outer side metaxylem is present. So there are two types of vascular bundle seen, or diploxylic condition is present in the xylem, that is centripetal and centrifugal arrangement. So this is about the TS of rachis we have studied. Next you are going to study about the TS of leaflet. Now here in this figure you can find 2.43. This ground tissue, the blue color layers, it is divided into in the two sides you can find. So that is the two side is representing the leaf base. Okay. Next you are going to study about the TS of leaflet. As we have studied, it is pinnately type. That means numerous pinnas or leaflets are present. So here each leaflet you are taking a section and observing under the microscope. So TS of leaflet. The leaflet of cycas is transverse section shows the presence of upper and lower epidermis. As you can see in this diagram, it has upper epidermis as well as the lower epidermis is present there. Okay, epidermis is the outermost protective layer. Next, the epidermal cells are thick walled and covered with thick cuticle. So here outside the surface of the epidermis, cuticle is present. The thick cuticle is present there to check the transpiration. The lower epidermis is not continuous and is interrupted by sunken stomata. So here you can see in the lower side, in the TS of leaflet, figure 2.44, in the lower side you can say there are epidermis, they are interrupted. That interruption is because of the presence of the stomata. So where the stomata is present, they are present in the lower epidermis. Is not continuous and is interrupted by sunken stomata. The hypodermis consists of sclerenchyma cells to prevent the transpiration. Again, hypodermis is what? The layer which is present below the epidermis is called the hypodermis. Again, this hypodermis is in the leaflets also, it is made up of sclerenchyma cells. Next, the mesophyll is differentiated into palisade and spongy. So what is this mesophyll? The region between the two epidermis, between the upper and the lower epidermis, the region is called as the mesophyll. So here in the mesophyll, it is made up of two types of cells. One is the palisade, the other one is the spongy. Now what is this palisade parenchyma? Palisade parenchyma, they are the elongated cells. They are present towards below the upper epidermis. Okay, palisade parenchyma, they are present in the below the upper epidermis, and it has elongated cells. These elongated cells, they are very tightly packed without intercellular space, and they have a dense chlorophyll. Okay, they have dense chlorophyll. So the function here of this palisade parenchyma is what? They are meant for photosynthesis. Now below this palisade parenchyma, towards the lower epidermis is present the spongy parenchyma. Now what is the spongy parenchyma? They are the irregular cells. They are irregularly arranged with lot of intercellular spaces. So that intercellular space will form the air chambers. And the function, and here in this spongy parenchyma, there are less chlorophyll is present. So major function of this spongy parenchyma is what? They are meant for gaseous exchange. So till here just will recall. So here leaflet, they shows two type of epidermis, upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Upper epidermis, they have both epidermis, they have the cuticle. Then in the lower epidermis we can find there it is interrupted by sunken stomatas are present there. Next we have studied here below the epidermis there is a thick layer of there are few layers of sclerenchymatous hypodermis is present there. Next we have studied the mesophyll, that is the region between the two epidermis is called the mesophyll. It is differentiated into palisade and spongy. Palisade parenchyma, they are the elongated cells with dense chloroplast. Okay, and the function of this is what? They have photosynthesis, they are involved in photosynthesis. Next, the spongy parenchyma, they are irregular cells, they are loosely arranged. As a result, they have a large number of air chambers are present there, or air space is present there, and they are meant for gaseous exchange here. So here spongy parenchyma, the cells of this layer are involved in photosynthesis. The spongy parenchyma present in close proximity, okay, to the lower epidermis. So as we have studied, the spongy parenchyma, they are present towards the lower epidermis. They bear large intercellular space which helps in the gaseous exchange. Okay, so here palisade parenchyma, as we have studied, they are involved in the photosynthesis. Next here it is what? The layers of colorless elongated cells which parallel to the leaf surface from the midrib to the margin of the leaflets are seen. These constitute the transfusion tissue. So here you can see in this diagram the yellow color cells from the vascular bundles. This yellow color cells which are parallel to the epidermis is running towards the tip of the leaf. Okay, they are called as the transfusion cells. These transfusion cells, they are helping in the conduction of water. So layers of colorless elongated cells which run parallel to the leaf surface from the midrib to the margin of the leaflets are seen. They constitute the transfusion tissue and help in the lateral conduction of water. That helps in the lateral conduction of water. The vascular bundles have xylem facing the upper epidermis and the phloem facing the lower epidermis. So here also the vascular bundles are present. This vascular bundle, as we studied, collateral vascular bundle is present here, and these vascular bundles, the xylem is facing towards the upper epidermis and phloem is present towards the lower epidermis. The protoxylem, As we have studied, the xylem elements, they have the metaxylem and the protoxylem. The protoxylem, they occupies the center region, and hence these bundles, they are called as the mesarc condition. The vascular bundle has a sclerenchymatous bundle sheet. So surrounding the vascular bundle, there is one single layer of sclerenchymatous bundle sheet is present there. Next, we are going to study about the reproduction. Now, cycas reproduces by both vegetative and sexual method, but the most common method found in the reproduction is the vegetative method. Now, since here it is said, the more cycas plants, they are dioecious. Dioecious means the male plant, a male flower is present, male cone is present in one plant, or male reproductive organ is present in one plant, and the female reproductive organ is present in the another plant. And it is found that more number of male plants, they are present in the north of India, northern regions of the India. We can find the male plants. More number of female plants, they are present in the South India. Okay, and here, but there are also in both the regions, there are the other reproductive organ plants are also present, but an observation to see that more number of male plants, they are found in the northern region of India, and more number of female plants, they are found in the southern region of India. So here, so the most common type of reproduction found here, it is the vegetative reproduction. Now, how this vegetative reproduction takes place? It takes place by adventitious buds or the bulbils. They develop in the basal part of the stem. The bulbils, on germination, they produce the new plants. So here it is what the vegetative reproduction is with the help of the bulbils. Even at the leaf base, there are adventitious buds are present there. If that scaly leaves with the buds, they are separated and kept in the soil, that will also give rise to the particular plant. If from the male plant, the bud is taken and kept in the plant, kept in the soil, they will give rise to the male plant. If it from the female plant, the bud is taken and kept in the soil, that will give rise to the female plant. So each bud will give the respective plants there. Next is the sexual reproduction. Cycas is dioecious, that is, the male and female cones are produced in separate plants. The male reproductive organ and the female reproductive organs are present in different plants. So such plants, they are called as dioecious. Okay. So here cycas is dioecious, that is, the male and the female cones are produced in separate plants. It is heterosporous and produce two types of spores. Okay, male cone. First we will study about the male cone. The male cone are staminate cone, since they are only the male reproductive part is present there. So this cone is also called as the staminate cone. Are born on singly on the terminal part of the stem. Okay, this male cone is present at the tip of the stem. Okay, the growth of the stem is continued by the formation of the axillary buds at the base of the cone. So here the growth of the stem will take place because of the presence of the axillary buds at the base of these cones. Even after the male cone development also, the growth of the stem will take place. The female cone is displaced to one side, showing sympodial growth in the stem. Sympodial growth means what? The stems, they they divide into two. The apical bud will divide into two and give rise to the two branching. Male cones, they are stalked, compact, oval or conical and woody in structure. Now here, as we have studied, male cones, they are stalked. Stalk is present there. All the spore producing leaves, they are arranged together in a compact structure, and they give a oval or a conical structure appearance, and it is woody in structure. It consists of several microphyls which are arranged spirally around a central cone axis. So center, there is a cone axis is present there. Surrounding this cone axis only, the microsporophylls are arranged there. Next we will study about the microsporophylls here. So here you can see in this diagram, A, male cone entire, you can see the microsporophylls, they are arranged spirally around the central axis. Okay, microsporophylls, they are flat, leaf-like and woody structure with narrow base and expanded upper portion. The upper expanded portion becomes pointed and they are called as the apophyses. You can see here a microsporophyll enlarged, you can see here. So here microsporophyll, they have a pointed apex, that is called as the apophyses, and at the base you can find the numerous microsporangia are present there. Narrow base is attached to the cone axis. Each microsporophyll, they contain thousands of microsporangian groups, and this group is called as the sori. That is the microsporangia, when they are found in groups, that is called as the sori or abaxial surface. That is in the lower side of the microsporophyll. They can find this microsporangia in the group. Development of sporangium is of eusporangiate type. Eusporangiate already we have studied. If the development of sporangia is from the group of initial cells, then we call it as eusporangiate type. The spore mother cell will undergo meiosis, that is a reduction division to produce haploid microspores. So inside the microsporangium, the microspore mother cell will undergo meiosis division to produce haploid microspores. Each microsporangium bears large number of microspores on pollen grain. So here inside each microsporangium there are numerous microspores or pollen grains. As we already studied, in eusporangiate type they produce numerous microspores or pollen grains. Now each sporangium is provided with a radial line of dehiscence, okay, which helps in the dispersal of the spores. Each microspore, that is the pollen grain, is rounded, unicellular and uninucleate. Now here this pollen grains, they are round in shape, they are unicellular and they have one nucleus surrounded by outer thick exine and an inner thin intine. The microspore represents the male gametophyte. You have to remember this. This microspore or the pollen grain represent the male gametophyte. Next is the megasporophylls. The megasporophyll of cycas are not organized in cones. As we have studied, in the case of the male cone or cycas, this microsporophylls, they are arranged in a compact structure and they gives a cone-like structure. Whereas in the megasporophylls, these megasporophylls, they are not organized into cone. They do not form the cone. They occur in close spirals around the tip of the stem. These megasporophylls, they are also present at the tip of the plant, but they are arranged spirally, but they are not forming a cone. The megasporophylls are flat and measuring 15 to 30 centimeter in length. Okay. Each megasporophyll is differentiated into a basal stalk and upper leaf-like portion. The ovules are attached to the lateral side of the sporophyll. Now here you can see the diagram of the megasporophyll here. So here you can find in the side of the sporophylls, in the side of the leaves, you can find these ovules are present. An important feature of this ovule is the ovule of cycas. It is the largest ovule in the plant kingdom. Okay, it is the largest ovule in the plant kingdom. So this is the megasporophyll. So here each megasporophyll is differentiated into a basal stalk and an upper leaf-like portion. The ovules are attached on the lateral side of the sporophyll. The ovules, they contain the megaspore and it represents the female gametophyte. So here inside this ovule only you can find the megaspores. Okay. Now structure of ovule. Cycas produce the largest ovule of the plant kingdom. So you have to underline this. The largest ovule is found in the cycas plant. The ovules are orthotropous. Orthotropous means the micropyle, the chalazal region, they are all arranged in the straight line. Okay. So orthotropous. Unitegmic. Unitegmic means only one layer of integument is present there and possess short stalk. So here orthotropous, unitegmic, and they possess a short stalk. So this type of arrangement you can see here in this diagram. This diagram LS of ovule. This type of arrangement, this is called as the orthotropous arrangement. Orthotropous, unitegmic, and possess a short stalk. The single integument is very thick and covers the ovule, leaving a small opening that is called the micropyle. Here you can see on the micropyle region. Micropyle is a small opening. This opening is found, as we have studied, in the center, the yellow region. You can find that is the nucellus region. That nucellus region is surrounded by a single layer of single integument. A single protective layer is present. This protective layer, they consist of 3 layers. Okay, so the single integument is very thick. Okay, this is a thick layer. Only one layer of integument is there, and it's a thick layer. Okay, so here, and it leaves a small opening. That small opening is called as the micropyle. The integument consists of 3 layers. The outer and the inner are fleshy, and they are called as the sarcotesta. The middle layer is stony, and they are called as the sclerotesta. So here we have studied the integuments. They have, it's a single integument, but it has 3 layers. The outermost and the innermost layer is called as the sarco, and the center layer is called as the sclerotesta. The inner layer remains fused with the nucellus. This yellow region is the nucellus. This remains fused with the inner layer of the integument. Okay, the nucellus grows out into a beak-like structure, and the upper part dissolves and form a cavity-like structure, and that is called as the pollen chamber. Next, the single megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis to form 4 haploid megaspores. So here you can find the pollen chamber is present there. So here this nucellus, they contains the megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell will undergo the meiosis, and they will form 4 haploid cells. You can find all the 4 cells, they are arranged one above the other. Among these, the lowermost is the functional one, and the remaining above the 3 top towards the micropyle, the remaining 3 cells, they will disintegrate. The lowermost becomes the functional, and the other gets degenerated. The nucellus gets reduced in the form of a thin papery layer in mature seeds and enclose the female gametophyte. An enlarged megaspore or the embryo sac is present. So here what is present? Only one functional cell is present. The remaining 3, they disintegrate. After that, what will happen? The nucellus will also become very thin. It will reduce and form a thin layer around the megaspore. Next, an enlarged megaspore or the embryo sac is present within the nucellus. An archegonial chamber with 3 to 6 archegonia are present in the archegonial chamber. Below the archegonia, they are the female the archegonial cells. So here an archegonial chamber with 3 to 6 archegonia are present. That is inside this megaspore chamber. We can find 3 to 6 eggs are present. Okay, and the pollen chamber. Next, what will happen? The pollination and the fertilization we have to study here. So here pollination is carried out by wind and occurs at 3 cell stage: a prothallial cell, a large tube cell, and a small generative cell. So as we have already studied, germination, this pollination will take place. So here, as we studied in gymnosperms, it is the agent of pollination is the wind. So the pollen grains, they are released in the form of in a 3-celled stage. They gets deposited over the female structure. That is, the pollination is carried out by wind and occurs at a 3-cell stage, and it contains a prothallial cell, a large tube cell, and a small generative cell. The pollen grains get locked on the pollen chamber. So those pollen grains, they are transferred and they get deposits over the pollen chamber. Okay, the generative cell divides into a stalk and a body cell. The body cell divides to produce 2 large multiciliated anthrazoids or the sperms. So now here what will happen? This generative cell, it will divide into 2 and it will form the 2 cells. So here two multiciliated anthrazoids are produced, the male gametes are produced or the sperms are produced. Now during fertilization, one of the male gamete or one of the multiciliated anthrazoid will fuse with the egg of the archegonium and they will form a diploid zygote. The endosperm is haploid. Okay, the endosperm produced here, it is haploid because the fusion of is not taking place. So here it is haploid. The interval, the time gap between the pollination and fertilization is 4 to 6 months. So here what we have studied, pollination is taking place, the pollen grains are released in a 3-celled stage. This pollen grains, they get deposited over the pollen chamber. Next, what will happen, the generative cell will divide. It will divide into 2 cells, 2 male gametes it will divide. Okay, and these 2 male gametes, what will happen, only one will fuse with the egg and will form the zygote. The time period between pollination and fertilization is 4 to 6 months. Now the zygote, after fusion the zygote is formed. The zygote will undergo mitotic division, that is it will divide into 2 cells and develops into an embryo. The ovule is transformed into seed. The seed has 2 unequal cotyledons. Okay, now this ovule will develop into seeds, and the seed has 2 cotyledons of unequal size, and the germination is hypogene. That is, the seed germinates below the soil. Okay, and the life cycle shows the alteration of generation. So here you can see the cycles. So here the seed germinates and it will give rise to the cycas male or cycas female plant. Next, what will happen? The cycas male will produce the male cone, whereas the cycas female will produce the female strobilus. Next, the male cone will produce the microsporangium. Microspore mother cell will undergo reduction and will produce the microspores. Similarly, the megasporangium, they will form the megaspore mother cell. The megaspore mother cell will undergo reduction division and will produce the megaspores. Now here, this microspores, they will form the male gametes or the anthrozoids. Okay, that is the male nuclei is present, and in the megaspores, that is they will form the they have the embryo sac. Embryo sac, they contains the egg. Next, what will happen, this anthrozoids as well as the egg, they will fuse, that is the fertilization will take place. Next, they will form the spores. Zygote is formed. That zygote will undergo division and will form the embryo. That later it will develop into the seed. Again, what will happen, it will give rise to the new cycas plant. So here, this is the life cycle of the cycas. Hope you have understood this, children.